Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Bushka, and today we're going to be taking a tour of sensitivity. I'm going to explain to you everything about sensitivity, how you should be setting up your mobile device, and some of the things that I don't really hear anyone else talking about with regards to PUBG Mobile, and that is the style of play that you particularly can be good with. There's two things that really brought this on for me. One of them is I did a sniper AMA video, and hence I was doing a DMR AMA video, and Ask Me Anything, where a couple of the questions were about the relevance of DMRs and bolt actions in the current meta. And then one of the questions was also about the sensitivity and how you can set up your gyro and all that so you can do 6x sprays and still have a bolt. And I got some great advice from some of the boys from Simplicity, the esports mob, who are running around. There's Goose, Irish, Russell, Doc. They were running around at the ESL Mobile Open. They're in the top 10 there at the moment, and they're competing, and they're going to PMCO, or they're trying to compete in PMCO and all that kind of thing. They're just doing tournament after tournament. They're really, really good players running around on NA. So I got some advice from them basically as well. And I've always been pretty good in public games, and I've never, like, these guys, they spend 6 hours a day playing PUBG, right? And they work hard, and they've lots of things. And that video is going to be out soon, and it's well worth looking at. But I particularly wanted to talk to them about their sensitivity settings, gyros versus bolts, all that kind of thing. There's a couple of things that then led me to go and try and set up my own 6x spray stuff. And the funny thing I found was I asked these guys their favorite guns. I asked them if they use 6x sprays. Do they use bolt actions? Do they use DMRs? Do they ever use... None of them used an M16 as a primary DMR. They were all interested in other weapons. They ran... Russell was particularly good with a bolt action, and he did like running the Kar 98, but for the most part, they didn't run those kind of guns. They usually ran M4s, and DP28s was for Goose. And the thing that really stood out to me for all these guys, a couple of them were gyros, a couple of them were just thumb and claw players. The thing that stood out to me the most was the difference in all their play styles, their favorite weapons, even the grips that they ran with the guns. Some of them ran angled, some of them ran vert grips on their M4s. Like the idea that there is a singular meta was just, it's pish posh. It doesn't exist, and it's always changing. And if people change the way they play, so I decided to go out on the range and see if I could set up a 6x spray. And I did all this stuff, and I realized it's not the way I like to play. And if you want to set up your sensitivity settings, here's what I would advise you to do. Get on the range and actually fire the guns. But understand that you should probably be doing it without an optimal loadout. Like, when you start checking out your sensitivity, don't load up with a compensator, an angled grip, and all that kind of thing. Start just base so that you can get a decent spray at base with a red dot at, say, 50 meters. And once you can control that red dot, then move on to your 3 and your 2 and your 4 and your 6, and sort the sensitivity on the ADS section out. Because all the stuff you're seeing here where I'm ADSing, that is the section of the sensitivity that controls when you are zoomed in with a red dot or no scope, and how much sensitivity there is between your controls and the gun itself and the recoil control. When you are just looking and panning around with the gun or the scope when you're zoomed in, that's the camera, and that doesn't really control. That's not what you're worried about. And in fact, it's one of the reasons why you can have a 6x spray sensitivity set up unless you're using gyro. And I did this, and you can still run a camera at, say, 12% sensitivity and use that for an M24, a bolt action sniper rifle. And all this is stuff that you need to really figure out for yourself. But the basic difference is ADS sensitivity is the zoomed in, holding down the auto fire button sensitivity. Camera sensitivity is the zoomed in, not pressing the fire button, just rolling around seeing what's going on. Here's the rub. What I found was that even when I figured out a sensitivity that I liked for a 6x with a spray, I didn't like that style of gameplay. It did not appeal to me. I really didn't get much out of it. And what I found was that when I went to I just didn't like it. And if you're not going to run a double AR, then there is absolutely no point to setting that sensitivity up like that. And even then, the idea that you're just going to 6 times spray everyone down is ludicrous. The whole point that these guys made to me was, it's not like this is PMCO all the time. You are not going to run into a bunch of guys all the time that are going to be 6 times spraying. You will get a lot more bolt action shots in these kind of engagements, and you can set your sensitivity up for that, because pro players will not make the stupid mistakes that you and I make who are not pro players. These guys, I asked them how much time per day they're spending on PUBG Mobile, and Goose was telling me at the moment that they're like sleep deprived. They're running every tournament they can. They're scrimmaging. They work on their strats in compounds. They play all the time, and they're at like 6 hours a day. 6 hours a day, guys. That's not a little number. That is a huge amount of effort. So if you think that you're just going to waltz out there and be Athena RRQ, you're kidding yourself. It's not worth doing. Anyway, these are my sensitivity settings. Now, the camera, you'll note that the further down you go, the less sensitive they are. And the numbers... The reason for these numbers being set up like this, if you are zooming around the map and you've got an 8x scope, you want very, very small increments of movement, because any large movements, you can't really get a bearing on the target. The targets are tiny, tiny little targets. The bigger the target, the higher the sensitivity for me. Now, you will need to set this up yourself. I'm running an iPad Pro 12.9. That is a very, very big device. Some of these guys are running phones. Some of them use gyros. Some of them use thumbs. There is everything under the sun. Nothing is original. This is the important one. This is the ADS sensitivity. Now, if you're wanting to do a 6 times spray, I would suggest your 6 times spray needs to be higher than 14%. But what I found was if I wanted to tap fire a DMR and I had it at 6 times M416 spray settings, it was horrible. It was really, really bad. And I can tap fire a DMR really effectively. And a lot of the guys that I talked to in Simplicity were like, I'll run a Mini 14 over a M16A4 all day long. Or some of them were like, I like tap firing an M416. It was very, very interesting, this. So you have to figure out what you want out of the gameplay. You are not, unfortunately, going to be able to run gyro and have a really high sensitivity on your scopes and your camera and then turn around and own it up with an AWM, because, I mean, you might get lucky and all that, and you might just be the best player that ever walked the earth. But for the most part, that's not the ideal setting to be running when you are trying to... It just doesn't work the same way. What you really need to do is decide if that's going to be part of your gameplay. Now, that being said, there is a middle ground. There is certainly and that's what I went for. I went for a level that would keep me in the game if I wanted to spray, and I chose different scopes to do that with. For instance, my 3 times scope is way higher in my sensitivity than my 4 times scope, because I do an awful lot of spraying with a 3 times on an M416. And it's so dependent to, like... This is something Goose said to me, which was really, really interesting, was for him, he got different recoil reactions from the gun depending on his field of view settings. Like, there was a difference with the field of view settings. And that was something that blew my mind. I'd never even thought of that. Like, that the field of view could be such that it would, in fact, influence the way you had your sensitivity set up. And if your sensitivity is extremely high, you may find that you get better results running a different style of grip on your gun, because it's moving and it's so twitchy that it just moves so quickly left and right that horizontal recoil can be really, really odd. And the recoil recovery and everything, there's just 1,000 different ways of doing this. So what you really, really need to do is experiment and practice with it. One of the things I found that was good for practicing my sprays was quite simply going to the training grounds, getting an extended mag on an M4, and then trying to spray down every one of the targets in before the clip was finished. And a good one was where I'd finish and it'd take, 28 rounds to get all 6 targets. That was a fairly solid round. A bad one was where you'd miss them all or you'd miss one, or you'd finish the last round or the last couple of rounds on the last target. And that really is a great way of improving the way you sprayed the gun. And it is also a really, really good way of testing how you feel in terms of your sensitivity settings, if you're comfortable with them. Because there is no way around this. You need to be under pressure to really feel whether it's reliable or not. One of the things that Goose was also talking to me about was the fact that he is constantly tinkering with his sensitivity settings on his phone. He runs an iPhone XR Max, and it's just intriguing to me that across 5 different people, I don't think one of us had the same settings, layout, preferences, favorite weapons, favorite play styles, and I find that fascinating because you would think that there is just a best practice scenario where everything is going to be the same, but it's not really even close to that. It's very much a case of what is best for you. And the only way you're going to find that out is by getting your ass to the range and practicing all those things that I just talked to you about. And then when you go out on the field of endeavor and battle, you will actually be far more effective. And I found that this was rammed home to me when I started playing TPP again this week. I have not really played TPP for quite some time, and my sensitivity settings they just didn't feel right. Like, they really didn't feel right. And it wasn't until this afternoon I finally got the hang of them and felt like they were all back in the right place. And my TPP controls being different, it was odd. And it just goes to show that even after being here for, what is it? This is the 9th season or something, or the 8th season or whatever it is. I'm still adjusting and jiggling and wiggling the controls to the point where there is definitely no one best must-have position on your controls panel. Like, it just does not exist. And especially with claw play and thumb play and gyroscope, those are all things that in and of themselves create nuance and difference that is very, 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 very hard to quantify. So I hope you guys understood that. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I think that taking my settings and copying them would just be foolish. They are certainly a good jumping off point for you if you want to have an idea on how things work and why they work in the way that they do. But they are in no way, shape or form something that you should be thinking of as the gospel, as the be-all and end-all of sensitivity settings. And with my controls as well, I've talked before about how my controls are set up to absolutely maximize a 4-fingered situation. But if you're running gyro and 4 fingers, then you're going to be very different again. I mean, you can see on my controls, my buttons, I have all my action buttons on opposite sides. So I've got my firing button and I'm going to be able to fire and jump at the same time, but I'll never be firing and jumping and zooming at the same time. And likewise, I'll never be vaulting and zooming at the same time. So the ones that I can't do at the same time are all on the left. Like, I can't peek and jump. I can't peek and vault. I can't peek and zoom in and then zoom in again. Like, it doesn't work like that. So that's why my action buttons are all on the left, and my firing button and reload and aiming button is on the right. And that's my doctrine for how I set my controls up. Crazy, hey? Like, the way you think through these things is really, really important. In a game where, look, I got 10 hit points left after that engagement. Like, he was running a UMP, I was running an M416, and that's probably what won the game for me. And I mean, it really is a game of percentages. Like, at the end of the day, it's such a close run thing. And if you don't get the percentages right, you are going to be pretty disappointed in the run up at the end of the day. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying the videos. I hope you guys are liking the Instagram feed too. Probably worth a follow there. Lots and lots of stuff popping up. I do a lot of highlights and that kind of thing, which is, always good giggle. The other thing I would highly recommend is that you stick around for the next couple of videos. I'm really excited about the chat and the insider stuff I got from the boys at Simplicity. They are really nice guys, and it was great to watch them play. And we played some Asia server TPP, and they absolutely flogged everyone, and they were aggressive. I might see if I can get Goose on a few more times and just have some runs with him, because honest to God, it felt nice just to be put in the back pocket and carried. I died on the drop and just came home with a chicken dinner. It was lovely. The three of them just went out and shredded. Anyway, until next time, thank you for making my life a fun life and being part of what I think is a pretty cool community. If you want to join Patreon, jump in on the squads and that, patreon.com/thebushka. And if you want to just hang out with your wang out and enjoy yourself, then stick around the channel. There's no judgment here, baby. Just be who you want to be. Oh yeah, watch this last engagement. Must watch TV. Watch till the end. Every PUBG mobile player should know this. Oh, good PUBG mobile players will watch till the end. I don't know. Whatever clickbait you want, insert here. Enjoy the finish.